How's everybody doing on this fine evening, or I guess early on this Sunday morning? I am Colin Bashnagel, your host here at Bash the CFB Show. I ask that you guys like the video as it helps push this video onto other people's recommended pages that love college football and want to hear a little bit about this game. Today we saw SMU and Nevada play, and I thought this was a very, very interesting game. A tale of two different stages in college football. One's making the jump to the highest level of the sport, and then one is trying to rebuild from the group of five level, which they were once successful. If you remember, Chris Holt had this program really turning in 2010, was definitely the peak of their powers as they went 13-1 with Colin Kaepernick at the quarterback spot. They also had some success with Carson Strong and Jay Norvell as the head coach over there around 2021 and 2020. So I think this Nevada program has definitely shown that they have a good ceiling, but the last two seasons, they have gone a combined 4-20, which is never good enough for any program at any level, but certainly at the FBS level whatsoever. So for Jeff Choate to be able to have his first game be a home game, standalone on national television, and you get to see them go up against the rising SMU Mustangs, kind of resurrected back to life. He outcoached Rhett Lashley in this game, and that was the reason why Nevada led this game for the vast majority of the time that you were watching this football game, if you watched it all the way through. But if you didn't watch the game, you saw Nevada control the time of possession, dominate the time of possession in the first half, and that being a big reason why they had a 7-point lead. And at a point, they let this lead get as big as 11. They were up 24-13, and they allowed 16 straight to close out this game to SMU. SMU did play with a lot of grit in the fourth quarter. I don't want to take anything away there. RJ Maryland with 8 receptions, 162 yards, absolutely went crazy. And you also saw Smith run the ball pretty powerfully at times, even if SMU, outside of maybe one good drive, didn't really run the ball all that well. But the difference between Preston Stone in the first half and the second half was tremendous. Preston Stone got his feet under him. He shook off the rust, and he played a whole lot better, delivering an absolute strike and also not being scared to take off and run, which I felt in the first half because of his injury last year as he broke his leg last season. I felt like he was scared in the first half, and that's why Kevin Jennings gave them an advantage in the first half at the quarterback spot. But once Preston Stone was settled into the game, things were going well there. But the question I have for Rhett Lashley is, okay, if you had that much confidence in Preston Stone to be able to stick with him when the game is in the balance in the second half, why wouldn't you have stuck with him in the first half too? They took him out for 2 drives and let Kevin Jennings come in. And I was thinking, oh, maybe a pitch count. I don't really know what's going on here. There was no real rotation. Why not stick with Preston Stone and let him shake off that rust a little bit sooner so that way you don't have to go down to the wire against the Nevada Wolfpack. So that way Nevada doesn't have the ball under 2 minutes with a chance to go down the field and win the ball game. I thought Brendan Lewis played tremendously efficient. That quadtuple or whatever you want to talk and say with Nevada's running back room, the 4 of them, it really ended up being 2 of them. It was Sean Dollars and it was Savion Red with sprinkles of other guys. Pat Garbo barely even played in this ball game. And you had also a guy in Barham or Braham, pardon me, that really played really well for Nevada in that one-on-one setting at the wide receiver spot. Had a big-time catch in the end zone. I think that was a 3rd down and a great throw by Brendan Lewis. He also had another big play on a busted coverage. SMU secondary was always going to be their concern, and that ended up being a big concern for them in big moments in this ball game tonight. Now, where SMU's offense was, their wide receivers did not show up. The only matchup they really had was RJ Maryland. The rest of them pretty much got locked down for the most part. I thought Jake Bailey might have had a couple of moments where he could have had some big plays, but it ended up just not working out that way. It didn't happen. So when you can't run the ball and you only got one consistent target to throw the ball to, makes your job a lot harder for a quarterback who's not playing with a ton of confidence and not playing with a ton of conviction early. So I give a lot of credit, first off, to the defense for adjusting to what Nevada brought to the table, because I thought Matt Lubick was absolutely in his bag for Nevada calling plays. But I also thought that because SMU's defense adjusted, it gave SMU's offense time to be able to respond, and they ended up having that like 98-yard touchdown drive to close the gap within 3. They got the safety, turned around and got the safety off of that muffed kickoff and something that's fluky, and they just had things break their way. Even though penalties definitely did not break SMU's way, they had that type of luck break their way to win this ball game. The sequence of events is pretty simple here. They drove down the field, had a great drive, muffed kickoff, next play, safety. After the safety, drive down the field, take the lead on that RJ Maryland touchdown. So overall, Nevada, they played their hearts out, but they let this one get away. That muffed kickoff is definitely going to haunt them for the rest of the season, at least if they retroactively look back at what could have been. They got a pretty relatively tough schedule for the Mountain West coming up, but you got to be encouraged. This is a team that went 4-20 in the last 2 seasons. Jeff Choate's doing the right things, and they got a very solid defense that ended up pretty much shutting down the SMU wide receiving core that you heard a lot about if you heard any previews about either SMU into the season or this game. So overall, Nevada, be very encouraged. Jeff Choate, he came in from Texas, being an assistant coach there after rebuilding and building up Montana State to what they are now, to where they're beating a New Mexico, an FBS program today. This is a really good coach. He put together a very solid coaching staff, and they played with a whole lot of intensity, a whole lot of effort, and the quarterback, Brendan Lewis, played with more discipline than I have seen him play when he has gotten the chance to play in his long collegiate career. SMU survives, though. If they're going to compete in the ACC, they cannot be falling behind like they fell behind today. And at the end of the day, they fell behind because Rhett Lashley had no idea what he was doing in the first half. Didn't have a game plan, didn't have an identity for his offense, didn't have any sort of rhythm to his team, and they showed up flat as can be, and that's a big problem to me. I am not a buyer in Rhett Lashley. I'm not a buyer in what he's trying to sell here. And I think that SMU is in deep trouble in playing a Power 4 conference schedule with Rhett Lashley as their head coach. That's my opinion there. I am not high on Rhett Lashley, and tonight was further evidence on why I should not be high on Rhett Lashley going forward. Overall, SMU came back to win, and this is a big building opportunity for SMU, scoring the last 16 points of this game to pull it off. And I think that they should be encouraged by that. And they're playing Houston Christian. They got more stuff to work on and more room for error in that game. But you got TCU coming up. You got Florida State coming up. You have to wake up and play way better football than you did tonight. And if you don't do that, it's going to be a long season for the SMU Mustangs. But that'll do it for me. The next videos you'll see is going to be the previews going into next week on Thursday and Friday. And I'm excited to get into week 1. So we're going to be talking about that coming up next. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Hit that subscribe button. And if you made it this far, hit that like button. Till next time.